the purpose of a business is to create a customer who creates customers. And I remember thinking, wow, that's it. Like that's the whole formula right there. That's the secret sauce. If you can create a customer who creates more customers, your business will thrive.
You are the well-being wisdom warrior, the heartfelt healer,
the luminary leader,
the health harbinger,
the shaman, the witch, the guru,
the guide of humanity to an embodied, enlightened future.
Welcome to the Well Pro Show, the podcast for wellness pros,
where your wellness lifestyle is your core leadership strategy.
Experience the camaraderie of collaborative colleagues.
Where your job as a wellness pro is to guide the transformation.
You are the resistance, the future, the way forward.
You are the community counselor, the change maker.
The Well Pro Show, brought to you by futurist thought leader Kate Stillman and the team at Wellness Pro Academy. Made for you, by us.
Hey, it's Kate Stillman with the Well Pro Show, and I'm here with Brittany Hodak. And she has this book, Creating Superfans, and also a podcast on creating superfans. And Brittany is an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and customer service experience. She's delivered keynotes all over the place, American Express and the UN. She's worked with some of the biggest brands. I loved your article on Taylor Swift. That was super fun to get the 5 customer experience lessons we can take from the Eras tour. You've worked with Disney, Katy Perry, Dolly Parton, and your new book, Creating Superfans. If you have customers, you need this book, period. I really want to just dive into how many fans does someone need to run a small business, and getting into some of your core tips in creating super fans. Why don't we just start there with because I think my audience is oh, I'm small potatoes. I just want to have my nice little career and following. Do I really need super fans? And what might those look like for someone who's, maybe just more in the wanting to hit 6 figures or low level, multiple 6 figures?
Yeah, well, I love this question, Kate. Thank you so much for asking it. A lot of times people confuse super fans with followers, and they're not synonymous. To me, as a super fan is someone who has such a great experience with you that they're going to come back, but they're also going to tell their friends. These are advocates out there helping you grow your business. And I launched my first business in 2010, and I'll never forget the day I read a quote by a brilliant marketer named Shiv Singh. He said, "The purpose of a business is to create a customer who creates customers." And I remember thinking, wow, that's it. That's the whole formula right there. That's the secret sauce. If you can create a customer who creates more customers, your business will thrive. You will future-proof yourself against any competitor that comes your way because you've taken yourself from simply a commodity provider, offering some sort of good or service in exchange for money, into a category of one. You're no longer part of the consideration set. Your customers have their answer. And so regardless of the size of your business or your practice, if you can focus on creating the type of experience that makes every customer say, I want to come back and I want to tell people that they should come here too, you can create the kind of business you want, whether it's a 6-figure business or a 16-figure business. I don't think there have been any of those in history, but the principle holds.
So let's talk about this co-creative relationship that starts to happen that makes you irreplaceable like that in this. I mean, to me, it feels more of a synchronized dance or a, where you kind of wonder who's leading sometimes. Maybe it's not a synchronized dance because you are kind of wondering who's leading sometimes. Describe that relationship between maybe the person who's the client or the customer or the fan and the person who's I would say in a patriarchal structure is more of the leader or the business owner or the, in many cases in wellness, the expert.
Yeah. So one of the things that I say a lot is super fans are created at the intersection of your story and every customer story. So that co-creation is important. If you think about it like a Venn diagram where your circle and their circle overlap, that is really important because when your story feels resonant with someone else's, what you're really doing is overpowering apathy. You're making them care about you. oftentimes they're caring about you at the exclusion of someone else who does a very similar or identical thing to what it is that you do. So if you are running a practice, the first question you should ask yourself is, why would someone be a super fan of this business? What is it that we can do that's different that other people aren't doing? And that could be a lot of small gestures. That could be one grand gesture. My husband is on the way home right now from the vet ophthalmologist with our dog Bear. And one of the things that I love about that vet ophthalmologist is it's a beautiful office and everything's like blue and white. They have a gorgeous antique, it's like a gumball machine, but like really, really big. And instead of gumballs, it has tennis balls, and all the tennis balls are blue and white. And at the end of every visit, the good boys and girls get a tennis ball. And it's just like such a fun thing to end the visit on. I was at the dentist earlier today, and my dentist sends everyone off with a smoothie, which is great. Whether you've just had your teeth cleaned or whether like me, you've had dental work and you're like a little bit numb and like trying to, feel your face again. But the last question that everyone is asked on the way out is, would you like a smoothie or a coffee? And then the hygienist makes you a smoothie or a coffee of your choice. So what are these little things that you can do to elevate the experience beyond the ordinary, to make someone say, wow, that was better than I was expecting, or that was nicer than any other office that I've been to in the past?
And how does that translate into like online? So like we're all online at Wellness Pro Academy and Club Thrive. So like all of our, our fans, but also our members, like it's rare that we have an in-person exchange and can give them a sticker, give them a tangible.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I think sometimes digital first or digital only businesses have an advantage, because if you think about where your customers are interacting with you, they're doing it in their own spaces. They're doing it in their homes. They're doing it in their cars. So it's a very intimate relationship because you're reaching them one-on-one, oftentimes in the privacy and the comfort of their home. So some of the things that you want to think about are removing friction. Are you making them click 3 times when they could click once or twice? Making things as simple as possible. Another thing is to think about the language that you're using. What do your buttons say? Is the personality of your brand coming across in the language being used on your website or on your app? What about the emails that you send? In my book, Creating Superfans, I walk through an example of Chewy.com, which is a company that I love, and they're an online only company. They do pet products. And using the language that they use in some of their emails and some of their prompts, showing how they make themselves feel different than other locations online where people can buy things for their pets.
So does that go all the way into like how companies are developing their brand guides and like their, not just these are our fonts and our colors and our logos, but like this is our language. This is what we call a customer. This is what we call ourselves. This is how we tell customers to refer to other customers. Like, is it all more or less getting delineated that way?
100%. So I am a big believer that when we look back 100 years from now at this period in business history, something that we will look at as a great mistake is and this is a very scientific word I'm about to use, the over-siloification of things. I think that what we have done over the past few decades is say, like, you're the marketing department, you only touch this. You're the sales department, you only touch this. You're the service department, you only touch this. You're accounting, you're finance, you're legal. And so you've segmented the customer's experience into a bunch of little like start, stop, like a kid learning how to drive a standard automobile, rather than taking a step back and saying to a customer, there's one company, there's one experience. And you may have 3 people, you may have 300 people, but there needs to be synchronicity and everyone needs to be operating with the same end in mind. Like, everyone needs to be obsessed about the customer experience and understand not only what their role in it is, but how to help a customer from one point to the next point. So I think everything is part of the experience, the brand, the fonts, the style guide, because everything should be done with specificity. Every decision should be made because it is true and authentic to what your brand is all about. And without that North Star to guide your brand and to let everyone understand what their role in it is, things get over fragmented, they get over siloed, and it can start to feel not so cohesive. And when that happens, that's when people start to think, well, there's a lot of other companies that do the same thing, and they make a decision based on price. They make a decision based on speed. They make a decision based on like how close something is to their house. And we want to get out of that commodity world. But the only way to do it is if we can make a clear, compelling argument that we are not like all of the others. There is not another company just like our company, because, and then that because is the reason why someone will choose to become a super fan of you, even if they're not using that own language in their head. Like, you don't need people saying like, I am a super fan of this. Like, and you may call it something very different in your, in your organization. These could be your subscribers. They could be your, frequent flyers, your best customers, like what your members, your followers, like whatever it is. Yeah. But you've got to create a compelling enough reason for someone to consistently choose you at the exclusion of your competitors.
I'm wondering too, if how much more this is increasing with the generational power shift, right? It's like as Depression era and Boomer era, as these people wind down, right? And these are like very cost comparison type people. And then what we notice is that the younger generations, like millennials, to some degree, a tiny bit in Gen X, but more like in the millennials, Gen Y, like there's a lot of resistance to buying, like the big items, like the big house, even like there's so much more car sharing and stuff like this, even like long-term commitment in relationship. Like we don't see as many people marrying. We don't see as many people having babies, right, in developed countries. And as we look at this, what we do see an increase of is this tribalism of it's like, no, I only buy this brand, or I only hang out here. And the definition of self, or something that we work a lot with in yoga, is like identity, that it's flexible. And what I'm seeing is that there's increased cohesion in the younger generations around identity associated to brands. What's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really fascinating book called Brand Love by a guy named Dr. Aaron Ahubia. I interviewed him on an episode of my podcast a few months ago, and he talks about this ability of a brand to sort of imprint on us from a psychological standpoint, like when we think about who we are, what we care about, what it is that we want to represent. And while I do think this is incredibly important, and it's a trend that we are seeing, especially in, Gen Z, millennial, 86% of people, according to a recent McKinsey study, will pay more for the exact same product or service if they know they're going to have a great experience. 86% of people. Yeah. And the boomers are the lowest in that category, but it's still like 75% of people will pay more. So I think even within people who have traditionally been price comparison shoppers, they're oftentimes making a decision on price because there has not been a compelling body of evidence that anything else merits making a decision on. So if you're able to share a narrative that sort of makes it obvious that you're the choice, they will choose you before they even ask what it costs. Because once we feel like we've identified the solution that is the best, it's less about, is this the cheapest or is this the most convenient, and more about that internal pull that says, well, I want to work with the best. I deserve to work with the best. This is the best choice. This is the choice I'm going to make, because it does come back to that identity thing. It does come back to what someone wants for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like, it goes back to resonance and vibration, right? And that it sounds like that other podcast, it's like really getting to the values. Like, is it a value fit? Right? Is there resonance? And then if it's all lining up, it's like, well, yes, I want that one. So the small touches, like one of the things I'm thinking about is for the solopreneur, the person who's like, well, I don't have a staff to train and, getting everyone on the same track. But I also, this is what I find a lot, and I've worked with wellness pros. I've been a wellness pro for a few decades. I've worked with wellness pros in business for about 15 years, is they want the flexibility to change. They don't want to put themselves in a box. and to the degree that it might actually really be hurting them. Right. Because it's like, well, I want to and I work a lot in the holistic Eastern space. It's like, but I don't know who I am next week. Like, I want to be able to reinvent. So I don't want to create necessarily like my whole style guide of how I will appear to my list, to my social following, to my members or my customers in a consistent experience, because that might hamper my freedom. So what do you say, Brittany?
I would say that your freedom is a big part of your story. And your customers want to know who you are so that they can decide if you are right for them. And at any given point, we've got a minimum of 2 audiences we're serving. We've got our current customers and our future potential customers. So the way in which you show up and communicate to those 2 audiences can certainly be different. But when someone leans into their uniqueness, when they lean into the authenticity of who they are, not just as a wellness pro, but also as a person, they're going to feel that vibration when it is true and right. Like if you feel that a brand hampers you in some way, it's because you've not yet identified the truest version of the brand that is you. Because when you come up with something that is true and authentic, it will not limit your creativity and your ability to change. It will enhance that, because all of a sudden you have a North Star to guide you to say, I want to lean more into this. I care more about this. And as maybe you're going to learn about, new things, and I hope you are, because if you're a great wellness pro, it's certainly your job to continue to learn more and share what you learn with your community and with your customers. And that is not something that is at odds with creating a strong personal brand. And that is not something at odds with saying, this is who I want to show up and serve. Like, those are very much connected.
I totally agree. I mean, I experienced this because I was branded to Body Thrive and to yoga. So my first company was yogahealer.com. And then I created the certification program for wellness pros at Yoga Health Coaching, which was mostly targeted to the world of yoga teachers. And I outgrew it. And it was petrifying. And I put off, putting a layer above those brands for over 5 years. And so just like gnawing in the background that I'm like, I can't believe I outgrew yoga. Like, it's huge. It's got this insanely rich history. Like, you can't really outgrow yoga because it's so infinite and deep. And there's so many ancient texts and mantras and teachings and all the things. But like, what happened was, in the freest expression of myself, like, I went before yoga. Like, my community led me because of that 2-way conversation. For me, the business always grew through dialogue. Like, what are they asking? What are they asking? And what does that make me research and think and package and deliver? It went primal. And so when I was able to finally like bite the bullet, because it's an expensive bullet to bite in terms of time, energy, attention. I know you know this better than I do, even, on a large scale. And branded to Primal and released Primal Habits and branded Club Thrive to be including yoga, but bigger than yoga. The freedom to create again, it's visceral. You can feel it. And it no longer having that limitation of like, well, what is the yoga community going to say? What is the Ayurvedic medicine community going to say about Primal? Instead being like, they'll probably hate it. And that's okay, because my brand, I'm not that. I'm not just Yoga Healer. I'm also Club Thrive Global. I'm also Wellness Pro Academy. I'm also Primal Habits. And that those words resonate, the meaning behind those words, the communities. And then all of a sudden, right? The primal community. Now I'm tapped into the primal community, which is like the biohackers and, the people that are way more hands-on, way more in the dirt than, the typical doctor.
I love that story. And I think that's a great illustration. And, I think it also speaks to the fact that what your brand really is Kate. And the people who came with you from yoga to Primal did so because of the trust and the community that you've built around your number one brand, which is you. And for anyone out there as a practitioner, it's so easy as an entrepreneur to have our identities wrapped up in the companies that we start. I stayed with my first company for like years longer than I should have, because I thought, this is like, I built this, like, this is my baby. I've built this. I've grown this. I've done all of this. How could I walk away from this? And a friend of mine said, you are now hampering this business because you're not passionate about it. You don't want to run it. You need to sell it to someone who is going to keep it alive. And you're not going to look back at your career 30 years from now and say, I did all the best things in my career before I was 35 years old. So like, don't worry about what you've done in the past, worry about what you're going to do in the future. And it was so freeing for me to think of that. Like, oh yeah, I'm not going to look back decades from now and say, I can't believe I walked away from that thing I started building when I was 27 years old. But it feels like that in the moment. And so I think especially for entrepreneurs, it's really important to not let our past progress impede our future potential, and to be able to separate who we are as people from the businesses that we've built, because you're always going to be able to rebrand your business. Like, it is much harder to rebrand yourself, because that's your reputation, your beliefs, your, values. Like, that is something that stays with you. All of the rest can change. So if you're feeling that pull of what do I do? What do I do? It could very much be that you have outgrown the umbrella of the business you created. And that's fine, because that ultimate umbrella, the umbrella of you, is what the majority of your customers, your community, your followers were attracted to in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you re-enliven that, you spark it.
Absolutely.
So with the congeniality, because that's something that I saw too in the Taylor Swift article, and we'll put that, or your blog post, and we'll put that in the show notes along with your book. This idea of like being way more personal. It's like the old way of marketing, of sounding like, I know for me, I had to unwind a ton of academic writing because I went to a college that really emphasized academic writing. And when I started to notice what actually was working with our audience, it was like way more colloquial. It's like way more like you're talking to your best friend, right? Way more of like the TMI type of thing, like way more vulnerability, Brené Brown style, accessibility, not like I'm 10 steps ahead of you, but like I'm right at your side and I've been exactly where you were and I'm cheering you on and I'm with you. Can you speak a little bit to how wellness pros might explore this in their social media posts or their newsletters, some like really tangible takeaway from someone who maybe hasn't really created a brand identity, doesn't really know their personal brand, but is starting to get the like, I need to work on this?
Yeah. Well, first I would say there's a really great resource called Brand Builders Group, which I have been a member of for several years. It's helped me a lot. It was founded by my friends Rory and AJ Vaden. And one of the things that Rory, who's the founder, says is that we are often positioned to serve the person we once were. Like, we are uniquely positioned to turn around and help the people who are a few years or sometimes even just a few months behind us on a similar journey. So the first thing I would ask yourself is, how do you like to consume information? Like, do you like for things to be more colloquial, or do you like them to be more academic? Like, how do you like to consume things? And then ask yourself what your authentic voice is. How do you speak? And there's no one right or wrong answer. There is no, I know they used to say, like, I'm trying to remember, I was a PR major in college, and in all the newspaper classes, it was like, you have to write to someone who reads at an 8th grade level. Cause like, that's, for these newspapers, write at an 8th grade level. And if it's going to be like the New York Times, write to an 11th grade level or whatever, like, forget all of that. Like, forget everything extrinsic. This has to be intrinsic. How do you speak to the people that you are most passionate about speaking to? How do you like to be spoken to by the people who excite you the most or light you up the most? That is the universe giving you insight into what your most authentic voice is. Listen to those signals. Don't try to, emulate anything or follow the advice of anything externally other than this advice, because this is not really external advice. It's just saying, listen to your own internal signal. But like, one of the things that I am so proud of with my book, so my book came out in January, and I have had so many people say to me, I've never finished a business book before, but your book did not feel like a business book. It was funny. There were like so many inside jokes that I was reading, and I felt like I knew you because you like sneakily like made a reference to a song or a TV TV show or a pop culture moment in a sentence. And it made me laugh because I thought, like, if my grandma was reading this, she would have no idea like what you just did there. And I love that feedback so much because I tried so hard to make that happen because I didn't want to write a book that felt like a business book. And because of that, I've had so many people tell me they love the book, they read the book, they've never finished a business book before. I have also had people that are like, why did you dumb this down? Why did you make customer experience a pop culture thing? Like, you've got a master's degree. I've read things that you've written for, Forbes and Wall Street Journal. Like, you did not have to write it this way. And my response is, I know I didn't, but I wanted to. And that's why I did it. And I will forever defend anyone's right to choose the tone in which they use to communicate their message. So I would say if you're trying to figure out what is your style, what is your authentic voice, get quiet, listen, you know the answer already. It's inside you. And don't apologize for that. And don't try to change that to reach a certain type of customer, because if you have to change something about yourself to reach that customer, that is a customer that is going to drain your energy, not create energy within you, because you're going to then have to constantly like pretend to be that thing that you aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. And come from the place of lack. I love what you're saying. It's like, just actually like pause, look back on the things that you've already done that were easy to create and the voice that you naturally communicate, like go back and see what's working and then like build around that. It also, I'm releasing the Witch's Cancer Journal in January. It's on pre-order right now. And this book is so different than the much more like research oriented self-help health books that I've written in the past. It is a journal and it reads like a journal. It's raw, it's barely edited. And there's been a few advanced readers, and the feedback I've got from the advanced readers who have read all of my other books is, this is your best book. This is such a page turner. It's so like, like that grabs you. Yeah. And I never would have found my natural writing style had I not just decided, well, and a friend of mine who owns Writers on Fire, when I told her a bunch of my stories, she was like, you have to write this down. So as soon as I started writing it, I'm like, well, I write books. So I'll just write it in my Kindle publishing app, which is Vellum. And shortly later, it's like, oh, there's a manuscript. Okay, so easy. It's just a journal. Now, every part of me that's like academic, citations, like all the things is like trying to get in there. And I know what the critics are going to say, just like you. It's like, you already know what the critics are going to say if you really stick to your guns and do it the way you want. And so I think there's just got to be in the superfan world. And I'd love you to end on this of like how when you create superfans, there might be a natural tension where you might create some haters. And that's part of the two-way part of the mechanism of creating enough of an experience for someone that it's not for everyone.
Yeah, if you are creating something that everyone likes, you have not pushed the envelope far enough. And you most likely are going to fall victim to what I think is the number one threat that every single business faces, and that is apathy. I've talked about it a little bit before. When people just don't care enough to care one way or the other, that is like the worst thing that can happen. And so, Thanksgiving was last week. And I'm sure you saw it because it was like everywhere on the internet. Dolly Parton performed at the halftime show of the Dallas Cowboys game as a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Like, she wore this outfit and like 90% of the internet was like, oh my God, you are 77. How do you look that good? This is great. This is brilliant. I just read something in, it was like the Atlantic. It was a collection of like all of the hate of people that were like calling her pathetic, calling her thirsty, calling her too old. And it's like, okay, that just tells you that there are people who will criticize absolutely anything for no reason at all, other than they have like hate and hurt inside themselves and need to manifest it in some way. So do not worry about people who don't get what you do. Do not worry about, people who say mean things. That is just them proving that they're not your audience. And you can't worry about people who you are not best positioned to serve. There are too many people who need to hear your message, who need to connect with what you do, for you to get derailed by like random people who just want to like say out loud that they were never the right customer for you anyway.
Totally. Yeah. And then we get to use our personal wellness practices just to let that go.
Just let it go. Let it go. And luckily, all of us have experience dealing with those haters, which means that there will continue to be an influx of very well qualified customers for all of those wellness pros in the world to help us all get a little bit more centered, a little bit more in balance, a little bit back to the best versions of ourselves.
I love it. Thanks so much for coming on the Well Pro Show and talking to our wellness pros. I know that this is going to help a ton. They'll read your book. We have a really good listenership, and they'll read Creating Superfans. Is there anything else? And they'll listen to your podcast. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell people to do?
Oh, thank you so much, Kate. I am so grateful that you had me on the show. I hope people check out the book. You can get the hardcover version, the Kindle version, or an audiobook that I narrate. And there are lots of examples very relevant to wellness pros throughout the book. So I hope everybody reads it, loves it. If you do, please reach out to me. Any questions you have, I'm always happy to help. I'm just Brittany at BrittanyHodak.com and would love to help you turn more of your customers into superfans.
Are you a podcast listener ready to guide your wellness business to more profit? We have an exclusive offer just for you, introducing our Unique Abilities Profit Consultation. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Don't miss this opportunity to unlock your profit potential. During this personalized consultation, your expert coach will guide you to discover just how much money you're leaving on the table from an outdated business model. Say goodbye to trial and error and hello to tailored guidance that leverages your unique abilities. Your success coach will work closely with you to create a winning strategy that aligns with your strengths and vision. Don't let the challenges of running a wellness business hold you back from more profit any longer. Up-level your leadership with our actionable strategies. Overcome hurdles. Receive innovative solutions. Take that crucial step towards building the profitable wellness business you deserve. Schedule your free Unique Abilities Profit Consultation today. But hurry, this exclusive offer is only free for our valued podcast listeners. Don't wait. Unleash your unique abilities and unlock your true profit potential. It's time to make your mark in the world of wellness. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Namaste and have a great day.